Welcome, and thanks for joining me again for this episode. We talked in the last episodes how the world is essentially set up to be against you. And that's even before you think about listening to the still small voice or go after your dreams or, live your truth. Remember, there are very, very good reasons not to do any of that, because if it were easy, we would all already be doing it. Honestly, I think it's more surprising when we find systems and people who do support us. People who don't just say that they want to support us, but they are actively supporting us, saying the right words, not just the nice words or the saying it because you asked them to words, doing the things that actually are supportive for you. Because people do want to support, but as I've said in previous episodes, they are just as lost in the language and the culture themselves, trying to find their own way out. It's not easy for them. It's not easy for us. It's not easy for anybody. Because how many times has someone said that they'd support you and you find them sabotaging your efforts or talking about you behind your back? I mean, we'd like to think that we left high school behind, but we all know that sometimes the most childish people are the oldest people and vice versa. And how many times have you realized that you are that person to yourself? How many times have you gotten in your own way and sabotaged yourself? It's what we all do. We all do this. We all sabotage ourselves. We all talk badly to ourselves, and we don't think anything about it. And we might not even realize we're doing it, or we might realize we're doing it much of the time after the fact. So with all of this in mind, how do you go about getting support? Again, reiterating, when the systems and the people, which includes yourself, are not set up for actual support. And like a lot of things in life, it can feel like a difficult, insurmountable task. Totally true. Because it is. And in addition, it's likely we aren't even sure what healthy support looks like. Because in addition to all that other stuff we've discussed, there's a lot of relationships and ideas and thoughts out there that are masquerading under the name of support or healthy support or positivity. You see those positive quotes and inspirational quotes and the support groups that you go to for counseling or for any other concern. And those quotes ring false. Those support groups also feel forced, or maybe sometimes you feel like you're stuck there and not actually moving forward or doing anything useful with your time. And then there's, our family and friends who love us so much, but then there's times we just don't feel right around them, or it just feels wrong. Maybe that's just me. We'll find out. So again, it's not easy getting support. Just like listening to the still small voice is not for the faint of heart. Neither is getting support. Unfortunately, we gotta go through it all to get to it all. So I wish I could tell you that we didn't need support, but unfortunately, we do. It is necessary for us and it is necessary for others. So I'm going to ask the question, and I'm going to give a few moments after. I'm going to ask the question, what does support look like for you? What does support look like for you? I asked this question, and I give you a little bit of time about it, because I still don't know what support looks like for me, and I'm middle-aged and still left of clueless. But I can tell you what I think it does look like for me. It looks like a lot of quiet, alone time, downtime, weekly, if not daily, to just be with myself and sort out my thoughts and feelings and such. It's time to write. It's meditating twice a day. It's having food in the house that is healthy, quick, and easy, and that I actually like eating. It's moving a few times a week in some fashion and going to bed by 10 p.m. at the latest. These are the things that I know I need for me. But when we collectively think about support, we usually think about other people. We think about community resources, but that's not the case for me. And I wonder if it really isn't the case for a lot of people. See, only after I take care of those basic needs that I just said, and usually sometimes I don't even get to them, I don't even think about adding in other people until after that fact. I think about what I need first, and then I think about time with friends and family. I think about hobbies or movement or exercise or something else to do with other people. And then after all of that, when and if I have the capacity to think about anything more, then I think about that community support, like adding in a counselor or a program or a regular hobby. And as always, for me, when something changes, one little thing changes, maybe something at work changes, maybe something with my family or my friends change, it means I have to look at everything else again. And I say this not to overwhelm you, but just to remind you, none of this is easy. None of this is easy, and it is always, we're always going through reevaluation on things, even though we would like some things to stay the same, at least for a moment or two. But unfortunately, that's not the way life works. So as I'm looking at all of those pieces regularly, as I'm trying to fit stuff in, this is how I proceed. So I'm trying to get my support. I'm trying to go to bed by 10, or I'm trying to make sure I have food in the house and that it's ready to quickly at least make and eat. At least maybe if I remember it's there, that would be ideal. And this is what it looks like. It looks like everything else in my life. I try and I fail. And I don't eat lunch for a couple days, or snacks for that matter. And then I try something else and I fail again because I absolutely will not eat it, even though it is ready-made. And then I've tried and I've failed spectacularly. I can think of many purchases of food and expanses of time that I've used for something that I knew was going to be the solution, and it was definitely not. But there are those times that I try something and, something sort of works. Oh, I like this part of this meal, but not the other part. Or sometimes I'm successful and it works great and it's wonderful until it doesn't. So I keep trying, and sooner or later, something sticks, something sort of doesn't stick, and we just keep going back into the cycle over and over again. What I have found is that those failures that I inevitably have on a daily basis, and you likely do as well, they're not easy to have coming at us with everything else we have coming at us. They're not just like, easy stepping stones. We're like, okay, we're going to get to this goal. They are sometimes exhausting, frustrating, and they are huge setbacks. I can think of so many other things. I talked about food earlier, but I can think of so many other things of job applications, written stories, so many things that I have attempted and been rejected or failed or even been in pain over. I think of all my attempts at being social throughout my life that have caused me a lot of pain and challenge when I've attempted to do them. I do the research, I make the plans, I read, I watch it all. I'm going to do it. This is my plan, and I watched it disintegrate. And I think we can safely say that we've all had that experience in the last 5 years, if not multiple times throughout our lives, and more to come most likely. So, going from plan A to plan B, and by the time I find something, I'm on plan like triple G, right? I have something in the works always, but it always seems to take more effort to get there above and beyond what I originally planned. And though I always know that things will take longer and take more out of me mentally, emotionally, physically than I planned, it still surprises me. And that surprise always kind of is that straw that breaks the camel's back for me. It takes more out every single time. Even if I planned, even if I have an idea, it takes more out. And at the same time, if it always takes more out, but at the same time, there are times the failure, it's painful. It is painful. And sometimes it is brutal, that the end result, my attempt, hurt me so badly that I promised I would never reach out again or try this thing again or try anything again. Though I say I'm middle-aged, there are many times I react like a toddler where something hurts and I'm never going to do it again. And I find these in particular to be, when interacting with others in the world, though there have been a couple experiments in other minor things that have made me swear off certain foods and things for a long time. And I remember I will spend lots of time pretty much cocooning myself off, hiding myself, being a hermit. And sooner or later, though, I find myself reaching back out again, little by little, poking my head out slowly out of that little turtle shell. So it's really hard because when I need support, I really need the support. I've usually let it go too far, and I am past the point of no return at that point. So, of course, I don't have the bandwidth or extra energy to deal with another failure, another thing that needs additional attention and attention beyond the intention. There are times I spend hours and days and years working through all the scenarios, best and worst case, around reaching out or how do I deal with this or how do I process this. And in the end, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And usually it's an answer of everything in between. So I think about it regularly. How can I get support when I am so far gone and I have no idea of what I really need? And again, I'm going to ask that question. What does support look like for you? Now, let me be clear. I don't believe you have to have all your stuff together to be supported. But I have found that the easier it is to know what support you need and some ideas might work along the way, that makes it a little easier to even see if what you're reaching for is supportive. It can save some traveling down some seriously convoluted paths and save you a lot of energy. So with all of this, I invite you to think about support in a different way. Before we add other people or outside support, and I'll ask it again because it's this important, what does support look like to you without other people? Now, my favorite thing to say before all the life coaches and inspirational people started talking about it was, if you could wave a magic wand and be self-supporting, what would that look like to you? I actually used it a lot when in work, in business. I used it all the time in business, actually, many, many years ago. Now, with this question, what support looks like for you without others, I'm not saying you want to live alone the rest of your life. But what I am saying is that you need support individually for you, Y-O-U, just you. And having an idea of what that is in mind or maybe in place before looking outside to others, that could make it a little easier on you and the people you may eventually reach out to for support. So now, getting the support from other people, that's a whole other matter. And sometimes when you get it, it might not be the whole picture. It could just be one leg of that three-legged stool. So we're not going to get into that into this episode, but we're going to talk about with what support looks like to you without others. And I had mentioned some things earlier, like sleep and nutrition and all those sorts of things that, lots of people say that it's these little things are key. The way you do little things is the way you do big things, et cetera, et cetera. They're important and they're necessary. I totally agree. But I want to put a caveat here. By having these in place, if we can even get them in place, there's some whole other issues there that you may not be able to sleep the way you need to sleep. You may not be able to eat the way you need to eat. You may not be able to move the way you need to move. So even if you have them in place, if you can get them in place, that isn't necessarily a magic abracadabra spell that gives you and I the support we need. Like, just because I have my sleep and my movement and my food, it doesn't mean that I've actually got support. I think we forget that sometimes these basic things can also be a stumbling block, that we think we have to have. Well, let's make sure my sleep is right first. Well, let's make sure I'm eating better. Well, let's make sure I'm moving. Let's make sure I've got social time and mental stimulation, or all the things. We think we have to check all these things and they have to be ready and stable before we get the support we need. And that is not the case. Instead, I have found a lot of people, and by a lot of people I mean me, and the people I talk to and the people I love and work with, we make those a stumbling block before we would reach out and get real support. Well, let me make sure all of this is first. And then if this doesn't solve it, then I will go get the support. And that's not the case. Now, again, usually what we need to calm our bodies and our minds and our nerves, the systems and structures we have in place, kind of work against us. These systems and structures, don't let us be loving and mindful and caring to ourselves. And let's put it honestly, human. So focusing on the individual things may help, but it can't make us forget that there are people, places, and things that are essentially hell-bent on taking everything out of us and from us and leaving us a shell of ourselves. I will not get into that. If you want to hear me rant about that later, we can talk about that another time. But I think that's what I want to make sure we understand. Well, though it is important to figure out what we need to support ourselves, it is not necessarily something that we have to do for ourselves before we reach out to others. So remember, know that we're always going into things usually under-resourced and short what we need, no matter what it is. It doesn't solve the problem, but it helps us get a better perspective on it, to know that we're just going in, probably not on all cylinders, right? And to help ourselves and society as a whole, we do want and we need others and their support. So for the next episode, I'm getting there, I promise. We got to lay the foundation first. We're going to talk about that, about how to be with and get support from others, and especially ways to do it without others needing to know that you're doing it. That has been my key in life. So thank you for joining me this episode, and we will talk next time about actually getting support from others and what that looks like. And I will see you then. So this episode was the perfect segue into my gushing about something that helped give me the personal support that I didn't know I needed a few years ago. Now, it's called the Heart-Centered Planner, and I'm on the launch team because it is that amazing. This planner changed my life for real. It helped me figure out all this support stuff that I didn't understand before. And pen to paper makes a huge difference on so many levels. I do love Google, and I use it religiously. It definitely runs my life. However, this planner got me. It got me to think about me. It helped my brain figure out how to function in the world and still be who I really was. And in 2019, 2020, I had it on me at all times. COVID was happening. Everybody was working from home. I was not. So it really kept me centered and focused during that time. And I checked in not just on the goals and the things I want to do, but on myself daily, weekly, on me, like a for real check-in, not a, oh yeah, I'm good, 1 second check-in, and then turn that alarm off on my phone so I can get back to work. Truly, truly checked in. I looked forward to it. I scheduled it and was so excited for it. And I loved it so much that when they asked for feedback back then, I said I couldn't wait to share. So I did. And now 5 years later, I'm on the launch team, and I'm seeing that my little blurb is one of those, shareable, suggested testimonial things that others can share. And this was my quote. When I use the planner, I feel less self-judgment and more joy. And I'd forgotten about that until I saw that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I want to be back there again. So I wanted to share this opportunity with you. It is the Heart-Centered Planner by Danielle Laporte. And Danielle says it best, that life hacking is not living. A lot of planner systems give you more anxiety, all the tracking of the doing. We need planning systems that help you plan from within. Yes, that's exactly how I feel about it. Now, just so you know, there's been a 3-year waiting list for this planner to come back. And what she's done to make it responsible, eco-friendly, beautiful, all the amazing things, while always over-delivering on the content, because that is what Danielle does. This planner is going to blow your mind. So you're going to get 10% off your purchase when you use my code, Jennifer S as in Sam, Love, LOV10, at the DanielleLaporte.com shop. I will put that code in the show notes so you've got it for you. And so you can get your planner. So because if you order by October 27th, you'll have it in your hands for the new year. And it ships anywhere worldwide, expedited for only $9. I just wanted to share this with you because by the time this comes out, there'll only be a few weeks left to get it before the end of the year. And she does do this planner. This planner is beyond anything I could have ever imagined or ever thought about. And she has updated it and added so much more information, particularly about nervous system and just focusing on living from the inside out instead of the outside in, but in a way that actually makes sense and doesn't stress you out. So I just wanted to share that with y'all and let me know. If you enjoyed this and you want more, please subscribe and head over to my website at listeningtothestillsmallvoice.com, where I'm publishing blog posts every other week that supplement this season's theme and episodes. Sign up for the email list to join our small but mighty group doing what we can to listen to the still small voice. See you next time.